Hey guys, welcome to London Players Guild. Today we're going on for the third part of the spoilers. We're going to go into set 7 spoilers with a blue and yellow Universe 6 saga. So they're reusing Universe 6. Initially it was red. Yes, it was mono red initially with set 1 and Tournament of Power. Um, yes, let's see what they have. As always, first we start with the leaders. Hit. So both leaders are going to be yellow. Hit as a leader has a remake. It used to be a red leader back in set 1. On activate main once per turn, you can take one of your lives and choose up to one blue or yellow universe 6 with cost of 1 in your hand and play it. So you can play something for free, but it also helps you self awakening, which is a decent enough effect. Also, it awakens when you have 4 late life. You draw one card and tap one energy, which is a decent draw on tap. And now we go to the controversial side that got a lot of people asking a lot of questions because this side was spoiled earlier. So when this card attacks, you draw one card, it's usual for weekend side. When your opponent's leader card flips back to its front, choose up to one blue or yellow universe 6 in your drop area with cost 3 or less and play it. So what that means, if your opponent is on the awakened side or wish side, and they flip back to their front side, so the 10k side, you get to play something from your drop area. Normally, that's not possible within the rules of the game, so everyone was speculating that there's going to be a card that does that for your opponent. And everyone was scared that the card is going to be too easy to use and is going to end up giving your opponent either an advantage on constantly awakening, or it's going to put them in a situation where they can't awaken during that turn, which essentially gives all of your cards 5,000 power. And the last effect is activate main. Once per turn, you choose one card in your hand and place it in your drop area. Choose up to one blue or yellow universe 6 card in your hand and with cost 2 or less and play it. So you can discard a card, it doesn't take a life anymore, and it lets you play a card with cost 2 or less, unlike the front side, which can only play cost 1. Uh, It's a decent effect, I guess. You discard a card to play cards rather than use your energy. It lets you spam the board. It lets you put down the materials for Kefla. And most importantly, hit has bond ability. The main deck hit has a bond ability, so this effect lets you spam that. So you can actually activate a bond fairly reliably. Secondly, is Caulifla and Kale. So this is when you attack leader, draw one card, and activate main when you have 3 or more energy. So you need to be at 3. You can use objection. Choose up to one blue kale and one yellow caulifla with energy cost of 2 or less in your hand. Play them and negate this skill for the duration of the game. So essentially, normally on your turn 3, you'll be able to play 2 of your cards from hand for free if you drew into right kale and caulifla. Also, when your life is 4 or less, you may draw one card and flip this card over. It's interesting. This leader only draws one card, not 2 cards, or draw one and tap. I think it has something to do with the fact that you can play 2 battle cards just like that. There's no other cost besides you having 3 energy. And when they awaken, they fuse. Kefla, Soul Overflowing. When this card attacks, you draw one card, then choose up to one Universe 6 card in your battle area, and both the leader and the chosen card get 5,000 power for the duration of the turn. The leader is not that great, it doesn't do an awful lot, but it is a strong attacker, and you can keep on boosting your cards. It is a 20k leader, whatever else happens. Yeah, I don't think it's that great. I think Hit has a better potential because it does let you play more cards. So let's look through the sister saints, Caulifla and Kale. So all the Caulifla cards are yellow and all the Kale cards are blue. So let's start with a 1-drop Caulifla, the Bold Sister. This card can be KO'd by your opponent's skills. As a 1-drop, it's actually quite good. It can still be reduced in power, it can still be bounced to hand, warped, etc., but it can't be KO'd, which is something. When you play this card, you look at up to 5 cards from the top of your deck and add 1 blue or yellow Universe 6 cards to your hand. That's simple. Play this, check the top 5 for one of your cards. This card can't be KO'd. Bear in mind, you can play this with hit for free, so you can actually hit more targets, and she can add herself. So, there is that. Caulifla, the Resilient Sister. If your opponent has 6 or more cards in rest mode, you can play this card from your hand without paying its energy cost. That card is actually quite interesting. So, first things first, it doesn't check the leader. It doesn't check that it's only one played. It only checks how many cards your opponent has in rest mode. So I think this card might be quite good in decks other than Universe 6. If your opponent goes in a turn 3 and they have, tapped 3 energy, 2 battle cards, and the leader, suddenly you can play this for free. It's going to attack. Yes, it only has 10,000 power, but the card on its own, I think it's interesting, and there's also a material that you can play for free for Union Potara later on. And first, super rare, Caulifla, the Awakened Sister. So a 4-drop requires 2 yellow, 20,000 power. It has double strike, and during your turn, at the end of the battle, after you combo with this card, choose up to 1 yellow Caulifla card in your battle area and play this card on top of it. And when you play this card, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards or energy and switch it to rest mode. So, the idea behind this card is the same as the apes used to be. You combo with this, you play it on top of your Caulifla, and then you attack. Unlike apes, it doesn't have blocker, it doesn't restand at the end of the turn. A double strike is alright, I guess. I don't know why it needs to rest battle card or energy. It's only 1 card as well. I don't know. I don't think the card should be a super rare, but there are a few cards that took a super rare spot for unknown reasons. Now we're going to Kale, the blue one. Kale, Time Eat Sister. So this card can't be KO'd by your opponent's skills again. It's a 1-drop, blue, this time around. And when you play this card, choose up to 1 blue or yellow Universe 6 in your drop area with cost 3 or more and add it to your hand. So this one, to make sure you can't recur Kale into Kale into Kale, so she can't pick herself up. You also can't pick up the Universe 6 super combo. So you're forced to pick up like the Resilient Sister or Awakened Sister or one of the other 2 Kales. I think this card is good. Again, it gets its effect when you play her with Hit Leader or with Kale and Caulifla Leader. I think the 1-drops are really good. They can't be KO'd by your opponent, so they will stick around for you to fuse them. Next we have Kale, the Awakened Sister. So this one costs 4, 2 blue, critical. During your turn, at the end of battle, it's the same ape effect. You can evolve on top of blue Kale. And when you play this card, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode, negate that card's skill for the duration of the turn, and return it to its owner's hand. So this card is way better than Caulifla, Awakened Sister. The idea behind those 2 cards is pretty much you first play Caulifla, rest something, and then Kale negates it and bounces it back to hand. But this card also has critical, which is way better attacker. I would be way happier to play this card on turn 2 and just start hitting my opponent for 20k critical every turn. And Kale, Sister of Annihilation. It's a bit weird ordering. I thought the super rare is going to be the last one. This one is actually quite interesting. So, it's a 4-drop blue, it requires 1 blue, has 20,000 power. But it also has X Evolve. So you can pay 1 blue and evolve a Kale with cost of 1, blue Kale with cost of 1, so the Time Eat Sister. And when the card evolves into this card, you may choose all of your opponent's battle cards other than this card. All of your battle cards other than this card, and place them in their owner's drop area. If you do, choose all of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost 4 or less and return them to your opponent's hands. So, for starter, you need to have another battle card on board before you use this effect. If you can't KO anything, you don't get to return everything your opponent has back to hand. The X evolve cost is very cheap, and then you can still evolve her further into Awakened system. I think the KO generally has better cards than Caulifla. I think the best Caulifla. Okay, the super rare of Caulifla is not very good. Kale, all three cards I really, really like. Next one we have Hit and Fight. So we're going to be talking about Hit, After Image Master. 2-drop, when you play him from your hand, which is important here, your opponent chooses one card from their hand and sends it to their warp. And on Activate Main, you can send this card to the owner's warp. At the start of your next main phase, if your leader card is a yellow Universe 6, you play this card, sent to the warp by its owner's skill. Important thing, this card has only 9,000 power, which is important because it can't hit a leader unless you combo. And also, when you play him from his own skill back from warp, your opponent doesn't warp a card from hand, which is it would be bastard if it did. So this is well balanced card. The card only exists really so you can evolve it into a hit, into another hit. I think it's well balanced common card. Nothing else really to say about this. If it was 10,000 power, there would be some weird decks popping up around it. So I'm really happy it's 9,000. Now we have a super rare that everyone was scared of. It's a Hit, Pride of Universe 6. It costs 5, requires 3 yellow, but also has X evolve for 2 yellow and 1 of any color. And it evolves on top of a yellow hit with cost of 2, exactly 2. So the After Image Master. It has dual attack and Bond 2, Universe 6. So you need to have this and one other card with Universe 6 tag. When a card evolves into this card, if your leader card is a yellow Universe 6 card, and you have 4 or more energy, so important thing is you need to have that 4 energy, flip your opponent's leader card to the front. If you do, your opponent can't activate the leader card's Awaken or Wish skills until the end of their next turn. Also, once per turn during your main, you can choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, negate its skills for the duration of the turn, and send it to its owner's warp. At the end of your opponent's next turn, play the card that has been sent to the warp into its owner's battle area in rest mode. So this essentially flickers your opponent's card. So you flicker it during your turn and it comes at the end of your opponent's turn, and then you can attack it because it's going to be in rest mode. But the important effect is the one that flips your opponent back. I'm not quite sure what to think about this. It has dual attack, so rather than deal 2 damage with one attack, it needs to attack twice, which potentially can take more combo cards from your opponent's hand. And it stops your opponent from using Awaken or Wish until end of their next turn. Which means that they're vulnerable until it's the end of their next turn, and they can only awaken when you attack them. And then if you have another one of those combos, it might be detrimental for your opponent. Like your opponent might be in a really bad situation if you draw multiple of those and you just stop them from awakening altogether. Yes, they might draw a lot of cards and tap a lot of energy, but ultimately you're also going to be attacking them quite a lot. Next we go into Kaba, Brimming with Spirit. It's a simple card, 1 drop, 5k. When you play it to draw a card, it's a Imagine Boo essentially. That's a Kaba. And next Kaba card is Undisguised Rage, which is a blocker revenge. This is essentially Yajirobe from set 2, if people remember that card. It was a 2-drop 5,000 blocker revenge. It's as simple as that, and nothing really else there. Champa the Trickster. So this card is a counterplay. If you have multicolored card in your energy, this card costs 1 less to play. When you play this card, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, switch it to rest mode, and draw one card if it's your opponent's turn. Oh boy. So, it rests something your opponent controls, which seems to be a theme for blue. It ignores barrier, and it can net you that additional card. I'm not convinced about this card. That's all I'm going to say, sadly. It's decent counterplay, but I don't think it's as good as it could be. The fact that it ignores barrier helps you stop the likes of Path to Greatness, but that's still 19,000 that you need to attack over, and your opponent is most likely going to defend it. Nevertheless, it's a counterplay that can be used defensively or offensively, because it can rest something even if you play it during your turn. It only draws if you play it during your opponent's turn. And our super rare, Champ and Vadis, Gracious Aid. So this 4 cost 1 blue, 1 yellow, 19,000. Is Arrival, blue yellow, for 1 yellow. So if you have in your combo area at least 1 blue and at least 1 yellow card, it can be the same card. You can pay 1 yellow and bring this card out. It's energy exhaust as always. As long as this card is on board, you reduce the combo cost of all blue and yellow Universe 6 cards in your hand by 1. So this does the same as Great Ape King Vegeta did, which reduced all of your Saiyans combo cost by 1. But it also enables Arrival easier. And it has protection. If this card is removed from a battle area by your opponent's skill, you may choose 1 card from your hand and place it in your drop area instead. And if you do, this card remains in the battle area, switch it to rest mode, then choose up to 1 of your opponent's energy and switch it to rest mode. So, if your opponent wants to kill this, or if your opponent wants to warp this, or if your opponent wants to put it back into your hand, because it doesn't have barrier, it doesn't have any sort of protection, you can just choose 1 card, you can just discard a card from your hand, and this card stays on board. It is switched to rest mode, so your opponent can try and attack over it, but you also rest 1 of their energies, so they have less cards to play with, which I think is actually a really, really good card. The ability to allow all the arrivals as well, very easily, because you can just combo with multicolored card for free, and then just do the arrival. I think this is going to be a really good card to play. The other fighters from Universe 6, because Universe 6 is not only the Saiyans and Hit, there's more. Like, for example, Frost, the Path to Full Power. It's just a 2-drop 10,000 power, and this is the yellow version of a card that when you combo with this card, you can discard the card from your hand if your leader is yellow, choose up to 3 battle cards with energy cost of 3 or more, 35,000 or less power in your drop area, put them at the bottom of your deck, or choose 1 card in your opponent's drop area and shuffle it into your opponent's deck. It's one of those combo pieces that you never want to play. But nevertheless, you still have Ironclad Defense Frost, which is a 4-drop blocker, and during your turn, at the end of a battle, after you combo with this card, you choose 1 yellow Frost in your battle area and play this card on top of it. Oh boy. And then switch this card to active mode. Oh boy. So, you never want to play that 2-drop Frost, because it's better as a combo piece, because it lets you reuse stuff. But it's the only Frost you can evolve at the moment. I don't understand why they did that. The Ironclad Defense Frost is not going to see any play. It's nice that it has reduced cost of combo by Vados and Champa, but the fact that it has only one material to evolve from, I don't think the card is going to be any good. Just a filler card, probably. Botamo, Defender of Universe 6. This is a new super combo for 4 life or less for any yellow leader. But it's a Universe 6. The previous Universe 6 card we had was... Oh, I don't remember what was their super combo. I think it was Magenta. And that was the red one that checked for 5 life or less. You can choose which one you want to use. I personally think this one is going to work better because it's yellow. The red one has no, it doesn't work anymore. And we have Magenta, super combo again, Defender of Universe 6. When you combo with this card, if you lead the card, it's Universe 6, and your life is 5 or less. So it's the old version of Magenta that's just made yellow for whatever reason. Um, it's interesting. So you actually get to choose. You have both of them in yellow. The problem with Magenta is that it doesn't have a printed 10k power, whereas Botamo does. I think majority of people are going to be playing Hit Leader either way, so getting down to 4 life is not going to be that much of a problem. Or actually, they might also want to control how much life they have, so they might want to keep themselves at 5 life. But then the best things you can do with the leader is when you have when you're awakened, and then you can go into the big hit. The making partner is Saunel. So when you play him, it's a 2-drop, 10,000 power. When you play him, you add 1 Pirina, I think it is, from your deck to your hand. And the Pirina searches for Saunel. So they just search themselves, really, and add to your hand. None of them plays each other. You can play them with Awakened version of Hit Leader, but that's about it. Again, they're going to be great for sealed if you have multiples, because they essentially gadget themselves out. That's a term from Yu-Gi-Oh! If you don't know. It means you play a card and then get another, and then play that card and get another, and at some point you start repeating the pattern. And now we go through the fusions. Well, I say fusions, there is one fusion in here um, that has 2 forms. So the first one is Kepler, the Peak of Perfection. 4 costs, 1 blue, 1 yellow. It has Arrival blue yellow, costs 1 yellow. When you combo with this card, if you lead the card is Universe 6 and it's your opponent's turn, you may choose one of your opponent's energy, switch it to rest mode, and if you do, this auto does not activate for the duration of the turn. When you play this card during your turn, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards, switch it to rest mode, then negate that battle card's skill until the end of your opponent's next turn. So, ideally, you want to play this card. If your opponent is attacking you, you combo with this and you rest one of your opponent's crucial energy quite often. That's what you would want to do. If it's your turn, you play this, you can rest something your opponent controls and negate its skills until the end of your opponent's next turn. I think more often than not you would try to kill it, because I can't think of a card that you would rather just leave on board with a negated skill and then go into your turn when that card is still on board. And then we have the super rare Meteoric Energy Kefla. So this one costs a whooping 7 energy, 2 yellow and 1 blue. It has Union Potara, so this is, I think, by far the only Union Potara we have. And that requires blue kale and yellow cauliflower with cost of 4 more. So you need to keep the 1-drops, then you need to evolve them into the 4-drops, or play the 4-drop for free in case of cauliflower. Or you have X evolve for kale as well. Kefla has barrier, which is a really good protection. It has Aegis that can be used once per turn. So if you don't know how Aegis works, you can discard cards from your hand that are blue and yellow. So you can discard either 1 card that's both blue and yellow, or 2 cards, 1 blue, 1 yellow. And then you choose up to 2 of your energy and switch them to active mode. Energy exhaust, so it always comes into energy tapped, like every multicolored card. And when this card activates Aegis, choose up to 3 of your opponent's energy and switch them to rest mode. So Aegis can only be activated during your defense step, which means they need to attack you, and then you need to use Aegis, and then you can use their energy. So what your opponent is going to do when they see this card on board is they're going to just use all of their energy before you have a chance to use Aegis. Because you can use Aegis even if you don't need to untap energy, even if you don't need to combo. You can just use Aegis for the sake of using Aegis. You don't need to combo anything to activate it. I think Kefla is going to see some play, but again, I don't think she's that great. The simplest way around this is you just use your energy before you attack, and then I guess your opponent knows exactly what you're going to be doing, or you hold that awakened skill that untaps 2 energy as well, or you just don't attack. Now we go through the extra cards. The weak spot protection, the famous Magenta and Botamo. This is essentially a combo card. If your leader card is Universe 6, during the battle you can activate this card. You give 10,000 power for the duration of the battle, and you draw 1 card. So it's a pseudo super combo, I guess you could say, for Universe 6. The counterplay for yellow is Kefla's Fury, which is the most underwhelming counterplay. It costs 2 yellow to play. If your opponent plays a battle card and your leader is yellow, you draw 2 cards. There's nothing else happening. The problem is you need to keep that 2 yellow open. Even with Aegis, your opponent is probably going to attack first before you play all the cards first before you use Aegis. So I don't think anything with Aegis is going to be useful. It does refill your hand for Aegis if you need to do it, but that's very late game. Now, without the minus Killy Zone, the card is a tad bit better, but it still requires a yellow leader. I'm not too convinced of it. And the Graveyard Negate, the drop area negate, is Restrain. So you pay 1, counter attack if your leader card is yellow. You negate the attack, then choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 1 or less and switch it to rest mode. Again, I think the red negate was the best one. It also has all the clauses for the drop area negates. So you can only activate this negate once per turn, and you can activate it from your graveyard drop area, by paying its cost and removing this card and 1 yellow card in your hand from the game. The additional effect of resting something with cost 1 or less is not really that useful. Not many cards in game are actually going to be that important. We're going to see probably a lot more Aegis than before. So I would not be surprised that a lot of people will start playing like Borgos or Whis or Raditz or Kami, I think it was. If your opponent restands energy without using the awakened skill or charge phase, then you get to KO 1 of their energy. I think that might come in handy then, but if they have multiple of those, you lose either way, so I'm not too convinced of this negate. Again, it's useful against Shenron Kojita. The new ban list announcement did hit Shenron Kojita, so we're going to be seeing a lot of that deck, and probably some mill. Yeah, we'll see what's going to be happening. And that's it for the Universe 6. Make sure to check in tomorrow for the Future Trunks Saga. We're going to be going through those cards. And probably later today or starting tomorrow, we will be going through the Cyan Rares as well. And we have black cards after that. There's a lot of cards reduced in a very short period of time, and we're trying to go through all of them. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please check out our other videos. Also remember to like and subscribe, that really helps the channel. And if you want to help the channel even more, there's our Patreon in the description. Take care guys, and thank you for watching.